but he uses young girls like me to bring his...
Your body.
Before the final credits rolled, Tristan Rogers had already etched his name into television history. On August 15, 2025, the beloved Australian-American actor passed away at the age of 79, following a public battle with lung cancer. His death marks the end of one of the most enduring and emotionally resonant careers in daytime television. For over 4 decades, Rogers was the heart of General Hospital, a familiar face, a steady hand, and an unmistakable presence. What began in 1980 as a simple 2-day guest role became a cultural phenomenon. As Robert Scorpio, the charismatic spy-turned-police commissioner, Rogers captivated audiences with a rare combination of charm, complexity, and emotional depth. It was Scorpio who stood beside Luke and Laura on their legendary wedding day in 1981, an episode watched by over 30 million viewers, still the most watched hour in American soap opera history. And it was Scorpio who returned time and again, weaving through storylines of danger, romance, and redemption. His character died in 1992, only to rise again, not just once, but many times, a narrative mirror of the actor's own persistence and devotion to the fans who adored him. But Tristan Rogers was never just Robert Scorpio. He was a working actor with range, with credits spanning everything from The Young and the Restless to Babylon 5, from gritty dramas to Disney animation, The Rescuers Down Under. In 2020, he won a Daytime Emmy Award for his work on Studio City, a fitting acknowledgement of a lifetime spent giving his all to a genre often overlooked. In July 2025, Rogers revealed his lung cancer diagnosis. Even then, he faced it with characteristic grace. No drama, just quiet honesty. 1 month later, surrounded by family, he slipped away, leaving behind a wife, 2 children, a grandchild, and millions of viewers mourning not just an actor, but a fixture of their emotional lives. Because Tristan Rogers didn't just play a character, he became part of the family. Tristan Rogers was never meant to be an American icon, at least not at first. Born in Melbourne, Australia in 1946, he didn't arrive in Hollywood with a blockbuster contract or a press machine behind him. He came with curiosity, versatility, and a willingness to do the work. He started in music, moved into modeling, then television, finding steady work in Australian shows like Bellbird, Number 96, and The Box. But it wasn't until 1980, at the age of 34, that Rogers stepped onto the American daytime stage and into legend. When he was cast for a 2-day role on General Hospital, the assignment was simple, but producers quickly saw something that couldn't be scripted: presence. As Robert Scorpio, the mysterious international agent with a conscience and a disarming smile, Rogers injected something rare into the soap landscape: grit and elegance wrapped in real emotional stakes. He wasn't just there to solve the mission, he was there to make you care. The early 1980s were a defining era for General Hospital. The show was ascending into its golden age, becoming must-watch television for tens of millions of Americans. Scorpio became a core pillar of that success, seamlessly weaving between spy thrillers, heartbreaking romances, and high-stakes moral dilemmas. But what made the character iconic wasn't just the writing, it was Tristan himself. He brought to Scorpio a subtle intelligence, emotional restraint, and unexpected vulnerability. He was tough but never cruel, handsome but never vain, romantic but never shallow. And at the heart of it all was chemistry, particularly with Luke, Anthony Geary, and Laura, Jeannie Francis, forming one of the most beloved character trios in soap history. Together, they delivered ratings gold, but more importantly, they created emotional memory. Tristan left General Hospital in 1992 when Scorpio was presumed dead, a shocking exit that became the stuff of daytime myth, but he never truly left. Over the years, he returned for anniversary episodes, spin-offs, and fan-favorite arcs. Each return was met with a level of affection most actors never experience once, let alone multiple times across 4 decades. Beyond General Hospital, Tristan Rogers was restless and adaptable. He took on roles in The Young and the Restless, lent his voice to the rescuers down under, and appeared in sci-fi cult series like Babylon 5. He was a journeyman, never chasing superstardom, but always delivering. The theme of Tristan Rogers' life was endurance without ego. He didn't seek the spotlight, he built a home in it. And over time, that home expanded. It included castmates, writers, directors, and above all, the fans, who grew up, grew older, and never stopped waiting for Robert Scorpio to walk through the door one more time. In July 2025, when he shared his lung cancer diagnosis, it was with honesty and calm. Not for sympathy, but for transparency. He wanted fans to understand, and he gave them time to prepare. But no one was ever truly ready, because when a figure becomes a part of your afternoons for 45 years, their absence feels like the floor shifting beneath you. Tristan Rogers was not just a character actor, he was a constant. Tristan Rogers' rise was not meteoric. It wasn't built on instant fame or tabloid headlines. It was something rarer, a slow-burning loyalty, both from him to the craft and from the audience to him. He began humbly in Australia, finding his feet in the entertainment world through side gigs, music, modeling, small television parts. He was charming but grounded, ambitious but never arrogant. He wasn't looking to become a star, he was looking to belong. In the 1970s, he worked steadily on Australian series like Bellbird, Number 96, and Power Without Glory. But it wasn't until he moved to the US in 1980 that his career took its defining turn. A small role on General Hospital, written for just 2 episodes, would change everything. Robert Scorpio was supposed to be a footnote. Instead, he became the heartbeat of a generation. By 1981, Rogers was at the center of one of the most watched television events in history, The Wedding of Luke and Laura, a cultural phenomenon that drew more than 30 million viewers. As Scorpio, Rogers played the charming international spy with a moral code and emotional intelligence that elevated him far beyond the trope. He was cool without being cold, strong without being stoic, a romantic without the cliché. As his storyline deepened, so did his connection with the audience. He tackled plots that spanned Cold War intrigue, personal betrayal, and deeply human loss. And through it all, Rogers gave performances that balanced subtlety and intensity. His Scorpio didn't just speak, he felt. In 1992, when Robert was presumed dead, fans grieved. But the soap gods rarely allow a good man to stay gone. Rogers returned many times over the decades, in dream sequences, special episodes, long-running arcs, and even spin-offs like General Hospital. Night Shift in 2008, where his character confronted a storyline about colon cancer, meant to raise awareness about men's health. This wasn't just television, it was public service wrapped in story. And through it all, Tristan Rogers remained humble. He never demanded star treatment. He worked, he showed up, he gave his best. On screen, off screen, at conventions, in interviews. He was Scorpio, but also Tristan. Funny, grounded, razor sharp. His versatility stretched beyond daytime. He voiced Jake in The Rescuers Down Under for Disney, took on parts in The Young and the Restless, Babylon 5, and Fast Track. But even as his resume expanded, General Hospital remained his true north. In 2020, he won a Daytime Emmy Award for Studio City, a role that honored his legacy while still allowing him to explore new emotional territory. It was a late career highlight, but also a reminder he had never stopped being great. Even in his final months, as he revealed his lung cancer diagnosis in July 2025, Tristan remained thoughtful, honest, and connected. His final episodes aired just weeks before his passing, scenes that now feel like parting gifts. And when the news broke on August 15th, the tributes poured in, from producers, co-stars, fans, and generations who had grown up watching him. Because Tristan Rogers didn't just play a role for 45 years. He walked with us, from afternoon living rooms to late-night reruns, from childhood to parenthood, through plot twists and real-life grief. He was Robert Scorpio, But more than that, he was ours. Behind the charismatic smile and the steely voice of Robert Scorpio was a man who, for decades, carried the weight of expectation, both as a public figure and as a human being. Tristan Rogers was beloved by millions, but few truly knew the quiet vulnerability that lived behind the scenes. Fame in the soap world is different from blockbuster stardom. It's daily, unrelenting, and deeply personal. For nearly 45 years, Rogers showed up, not just to set, but to the emotional lives of his audience. He became part of their routine, part of their memories, part of their family. That level of familiarity is a gift, but also a burden. Rogers never ran from it, but it changed him. He once admitted in a rare interview, "There's a strange kind of loneliness that comes with being recognized by everyone, but only as someone else." That someone else, Robert Scorpio, was a man of action, stability, and purpose. But Tristan, he had his own shadows. Years of nonstop filming, shifting scripts, long hours, and the pressure to constantly show up began to take their toll. In the 1990s, after Scorpio was presumed dead and Rogers left General Hospital, he experienced something many long-running TV actors quietly dread: invisibility. He worked steadily, but the glow of his earlier fame was hard to replicate. Hollywood, especially in its obsession with youth and reinvention, often fails to honor its veterans. For a man like Tristan, whose identity had become so entwined with a single role, the years outside of Scorpio were filled with quiet battles. To be seen, to be heard, to be taken seriously beyond the soap label. Still, he kept going. He took roles. He voiced animated heroes. He joined The Young and the Restless for a time. He returned to General Hospital again and again, always welcomed back like a long-lost relative. But by the early 2020s, his health was beginning to fade. In July 2025, just 1 month before his passing, Tristan went public with his lung cancer diagnosis. He did so without fanfare, no press conference. Just a simple, heartfelt message posted online, thanking his fans for the years of support and asking for privacy. Behind that request was exhaustion, not just from illness, but from decades of emotional labor. He had given the audience so much of himself. Now he asked for space to take care of what little time remained. Those close to him described his final weeks as peaceful, even tender. He spent time with his wife, Teresa, and his children, Sarah and Kel. He doted on his grandchild. He was, they said, ready, not resigned, but grateful. On August 15, 2025, he passed away quietly. No drawn-out hospital scenes, no public spectacle, just stillness. But for the fans, for the community that had watched him age gracefully through their television screens, the loss was enormous. Frank Valentini, executive producer of General Hospital, said it best: "Port Charles will never be the same without Scorpio and without Tristan." Because for all the storylines he delivered, espionage, romance, betrayal, redemption, perhaps his greatest performance was his own life, one of consistency, humility, and humanity, lived in full view, yet still somehow dignified in privacy. Tristan Rogers didn't fear endings. He knew better than anyone. The final scene matters, but it's the years of story before it that stay with you. At Legends and Secrets, we've chronicled the lives of stars whose flames burned quickly, whose stories exploded in public spectacle. But Tristan Rogers belonged to another class entirely, the kind of legend that grows quietly, steadily, and with grace. He wasn't about scandal. He wasn't about reinvention or reinvention's sake. He was about showing up, year after year, decade after decade, and delivering performances that felt lived in, emotionally grounded, and honest. We believe Tristan's greatest legacy isn't just Robert Scorpio, though that role alone could have secured his place in television history. His real legacy is trust. Audiences trusted him, writers trusted him, fellow actors looked to him as a steady presence, a man who never lost sight of the story, or of the responsibility that comes with being invited into people's homes every day for 45 years. His Emmy win in 2020 for Studio City wasn't just overdue recognition, it was a reminder to the industry that real craft doesn't fade, it deepens. And yet, we also recognize the quieter cost of a career like his. Being so closely tied to one character for so long can make the rest of the world forget the artist behind the lines. It can shrink a man's identity to one name, one backstory, one uniform. But Tristan never complained. He embraced it. Because he knew something few actors do, that longevity is a gift, and to be loved for one role deeply and consistently is better than being forgotten across many. We at Legends and Secrets don't just mourn Tristan Rogers as a performer. We mourn him as a presence, a professional, a man who understood what it meant to serve story above ego, to act with humility, and to leave quietly after a lifetime of being there when it mattered. Now we turn to you, fans who've grown up with Scorpio, who've watched him fight, love, fall, and rise again. What did Tristan mean to you? What was your favorite scene? What's the moment you'll never forget? Because this wasn't just a character arc, it was a life, shared with millions. Some characters fade with time, but Robert Scorpio never did, and neither will Tristan Rogers. He wasn't the flashiest. He didn't deliver monologues that trended or scandals that filled magazines. What he gave us was far more enduring. Presence. A sense that no matter how outrageous the plot, no matter how wild the twists, there was one person on screen who meant every word. Now that he's gone, afternoons feel different, quieter, a little emptier. Because for 45 years, Tristan Rogers was more than an actor. He was part of the ritual, part of what made homes feel familiar, stories feel real, and long-running sagas feel like family. He made you believe in courage, in redemption, in love that survived everything. And through Robert Scorpio, he reminded us that strength didn't have to shout. It could stand still, it could listen, it could hurt, and it could return, again and again, because someone out there needed it. Somewhere. Someone is watching an old episode of General Hospital, not knowing they're stepping into a legacy. Somewhere, a fan is replaying that 1981 wedding, remembering where they were, who they were, when Scorpio walked down that aisle. Somewhere, a grandparent is telling their grandchild, "That man, he was there my whole life." Tristan Rogers didn't leave with fireworks. He left with 45 years of loyalty, a room full of silence, and a world of fans who now understand what consistency can mean. Some stories are never told, but now you know.